Tonight, a Spencer Gulf local becomes the 47th person to die on our roads this year, following a fatal crash near Kadina. And from Jimmy Barnes to Bachelor Girl, we recap the wildly successful Mundi Mundi Bash in Broken Hill.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. A woman has died following a crash at Bors Plain south of Kadina over the weekend. Emergency services were called to the intersection of Kadina Cunliffe Road and Thurrington Road just before 1:30 on Saturday afternoon. The driver of a Subaru, a 66-year-old woman from the Yorke Peninsula, sadly passed away at the scene, while the driver of a four-wheel drive, a 59-year-old local man, was taken to Wallaroo Hospital for assessment. Major crash officers attended the scene to investigate the circumstances of the collision. The woman's death is the 47th life lost on SA roads this year. Whyalla police are investigating a house fire that took place in the early hours of Sunday morning. Responding crews say the blaze had fully engulfed the house on Noble Street in Whyalla Stewart just before 5 a.m. The occupant of the house was located in the backyard trying to put out the fire. He suffered smoke inhalation and minor injuries and was taken by ambulance to the Whyalla Hospital for treatment. Police are asking anyone who saw suspicious activity in the street yesterday morning to contact Crime Stoppers. After years of delegating and planning, action is starting to take place in the small coastal locality of Fisherman Bay. The main infrastructure developments and upgrades include wastewater and stormwater management, as well as coastal protection and resurfaced roads.
Residents in Fisherman Bay will experience some short-term inconvenience as construction begins, but there is a lot to look forward to.
People will see the benefits of new roads, new infrastructure, better beach access. It's actually going to be it is a beautiful spot, but it's only going to be better.
With $20 million worth of infrastructure works underway, there is plenty to see, as contractors have excavated the stormwater basins and begin building the sea walls.
Protection measures that are much needed, and they've been planned for about 20 years.
Upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant include the installation of a rising main along Snook Road and construction of a new storage lagoon. But unfortunately, there has been a recent setback, costing thousands of dollars to fix.
Some time during the night, vandals actually drained all the petrol from the contractors' trucks, and they also put sand in the petrol tank of the excavator.
Council is extremely disappointed by these actions and encourages anyone who has any information to contact police. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
It was quite the end to the Mundi Mundi Bash, with world record attempts and big stars rocking the final day. And as the curtains drew to a close on a big 3 days, it was certainly an event to remember.
The final day of the bash gave revellers something they will never forget. The day got started with the Nutbush World Record attempt. 4,084 was the record to beat, which was set at Birdsville's Big Red Bash. Unfortunately for New South Wales, Queensland came away with the chocolates again in 2022.
Today we had the Nutbush World Record attempt. We just fell a fraction short, but we still raised a lot of money, so it's been amazing, and there's so many other things going on around the place.
Record attempts aside, it was all for a good cause, as the Royal Flying Doctor Service was the festival's charity of choice.
We've raised over $90,000 for the Royal Flying Doctor so far. Yesterday we had the Mundi Undy Run with 650 people running in their undies.
Once the events were over, it was on to the music, with the bands loving the desert backdrop.
What a way to start an afternoon. I mean, it's just, I love the Red Dirt, love Broken Hill, love Mundi. I could I could do this every weekend, no problem.
For some reason, Monday brings the people. And it's great to play to people who are enthusiastic, want to be there, have, really put in to be here, driven a long way, camped overnight, the whole thing.
As the sun set on another successful festival, rumours already began to swirl about next year's event. And if they're true, people will be shook all night long when the announcement is made.
Oh, we've been working on it. We've got a lot of stuff planned, but we've got to keep it all under wraps. It's one of those things. But yeah, it's going to be a great festival next year. So hoping to release our lineup around mid to late October.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Thousands dressed in their Saturday best as this year's Corn Cup galloped into action. For weeks, concerns about rain affecting the racetrack kept organisers on their toes, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
The early rain at Corn didn't dampen the mood at the racecourse, with over 1,000 people enjoying their weekend with a bit of a flutter at the races. Organisers were worried the recent wet weather could negatively impact the track, but the rain kept the dust down, allowing for solid racing conditions. The Corn Cup is one of the biggest events in town and provides a major boost to the local economy. Crowds flocked to the jockey presentation and fashions on the field as the 6-race event got underway.
It was a bit touch and go there in the last couple of weeks with the recent rain we've had, and people have worked tirelessly on our track in the last fortnight and they've finally got it up to scratch, and it was not looking too good this morning, but we raced and we managed.
For the race that stops the town, Fiable, ridden by Christo Sardelic, took the Corn Cup in thrilling fashion. It was the jockey's first Cup win.
For all the owners and the trainer and everyone, it's good for them and everyone, and my first Cup, so it's a good result.
We are over the moon. There's about 10 of us in this horse, and some of them couldn't be here, so it's good. But look, fan-bloody-tastic. Thank you.
The Flemington of the North has certainly delivered. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, success in Port Lincoln as endangered birds lay much-needed eggs. And after years of cancellations, the Whaler Show draws a crowd. Welcome back. Flinders Ranges Council has gained approval to purchase one of Quorn's most historic buildings. Buckaringa, previously known as the H. Matthew General Merchandise Store, has been snapped up for $100,000. Exterior painting of Buckaringa will be completed by the end of the year, and Council says it plans to offer the building for commercial or community purposes, following interior renovations scheduled to begin in 2023. A major milestone for the osprey bird species on the Eyre Peninsula, as one of the rare seahawks has laid 3 eggs on Port Lincoln's barge. The Friends of Osprey Group welcoming the news as they continue to monitor the nests across the region.
A new family swooping their way into the Eyre Peninsula. Ospreys have been spotted taking turns nursing 3 eggs on the Port Lincoln barge just months after several structures were built.
Once the last egg is laid, then the female starts to incubate. Well, they both incubate, but mostly the female. And we expect that we'll have chicks around the 19th of September.
The eggs were laid on the 9th and the 15th of August. An encouraging sign for the species, as it is thought that ospreys have less than 50 breeding pairs in the state.
We're also starting to plan to put in some more artificial nesting platforms around Eyre Peninsula in places where the birds are nesting, but they're nesting in unsafe locations.
The success of the Tumby Bay structure has seen 2 osprey return to the artificial nest after they were threatened by fox attacks. Now the Yorke Peninsula is also seeing an uptake in osprey soaring through its region.
And we're also monitoring some platforms that have been put in on Yorke Peninsula. So 6 platforms have been put in on Yorke Peninsula, and 5 of those have birds on them.
The Friends of Osprey Group was formed in March and have since been giving the birds a place to lay eggs. The group continuing to monitor their progress.
Because the camera is on this nest and it's live streaming, we're learning so much from the nest.
If you are interested in finding out more information, be sure to check out their Facebook page. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Whyalla locals rushed to Jubilee Park at the weekend for the city's annual Showtime festivities. With many families passing through the front gates, organisers say this year's show was a good sign of things to come for the much-loved event. Edward McCarroll reports.
Thrill seekers, foodies and showbag enthusiasts were out in force this weekend at the Whyalla Show.
We love the show!
At Jubilee Park, adrenaline junkies queued for the best seats on their favourite show rides, ready to be spun side to side or flung upside down. While those who like to keep their feet firmly on the ground enjoyed taking a look at what the city's various clubs had out on display.
So many stalls and lots of demonstrations. We need to build up the competition section again, but we've got something for everybody.
From vintage cars to animals to larger-than-life Lego collections, this year's show had a bit of everything and all the kids' favourites.
Dancers! Show bags! Fly!
Children were entertained for hours, with many families taking a walk around Darcy's family farm, playing carnival games and watching free live acts like the talking Dinkum dinosaurs.
On your marks, on your marks!
But as always, the highlight of the weekend for many was Saturday's fireworks spectacular that lit up the night sky.
Our event is run by the community for the community, and without the community support we wouldn't have a Whyalla show.
With the previous year's show being severely impacted by COVID-19 restrictions, organisers are looking to this year's attendance numbers as a sign that the show is bouncing back.
Stay with us after the break. Tourists in Broken Hill keep the party going by attending the Monday Fringe Markets. And more than 2,000 Ks later, Variety SA Bash reveals just how much money they raised for charity. Welcome back. Both locals and tourists descended on Patton Park on Sunday as the village committee held the first Monday Fringe Markets. The markets proved to be a big hit, with the organisation already looking ahead to its Christmas rendition at the end of the year.
The South came alive on Sunday as the team at Patton Village put on the Monday Fringe Markets, the first event of the new committee.
Estimate, at least 1,000 people here around 11 o'clock, 11:30. Yeah, packed. Absolutely packed. Yeah, stall holders reported great sales.
There was a bit of everything there, with jewellery to cake stores and even some pop culture gear. A full park was a sight to behold for the volunteers.
To have the community come out and support us like that and fill up the park, and it's actually being used, and just wonderful. Yeah.
The businesses across the road from the park also got into the community spirit, such as Rudolph Alagich's menswear.
Alagich's sporting tailor, and she said that she had a few people in the shop that they didn't know it was there, so that was worthwhile for her.
It was the first event for the committee, and it was a good test run for the Christmas markets, which will happen at the end of November.
It's a twilight market from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m, Saturday the 26th of November.
If you're interested in having a stall at the Christmas markets or are keen to volunteer on the day, contact the Patton Village Committee through their Facebook page. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
After travelling over 2,400 kilometres, the Variety SA Bash concluded over the weekend. The fundraising event raising over $2.3 million. On their way back to Adelaide, the 104 cars took a quick pit stop to spread some joy.
A colourful convoy rolling into town. After a week of trudging through the South Australian bush, the Variety Bash pulled into Whyalla this weekend. The stop offered drivers the chance to rest and recuperate before they set off on the home stretch of their fundraising journey. Arriving in style, the 240 entrants showed no sign of weariness from their long time on the road. Instead, they took the opportunity to put on a show for Whyalla locals, who flocked to the airport motel to welcome the bash into town. Air Peninsula participants, the Runaway Brides, proudly representing Port Lincoln by raising an amazing $660,000 for the children's charity.
the old cliche of you changing people's lives. We're actually doing that, and that's what keeps us going every year. A lot of the money that we raise does come back local.
In cars more than 25 years old, the teams travelled up to Roxby Downs, across the desert to Glendambo, through the Gawler Ranges and back across the Eyre Peninsula. All that with just the occasional breakdown, but organisers say no basher is ever left behind.
They're over 25 years, but they're well prepared. The brakes are improved, the suspension's improved, they got radio communications.
The $2.3 million raised by this year's bash will go directly to kids in need across South Australia. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Controversy on the field in Port Lincoln as the footy game is called off in the 4th quarter. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. The region's football season is getting down to the pointy end, with the weekend's results seeing minor premiers crowned. Finals are just around the corner and many teams have now secured their spot in September. Our reporter Henry Millig brings you up to date with this week's Footy Wrap.
It was a big weekend of footy across the region, with leagues hosting their final matches of the season. Minor premiers were crowned, along with teams snagging a spot in the finals. Kicking things off with the Port Lincoln Football League, where drama unfolded out at Whangarei. Undefeated Marble Range took out the minor premiers title, but it wasn't without controversy. Rangers defeated Mallee Park 141-11 after play was called off early in the 4th quarter, where a number of yellow cards were handed out. The league is currently investigating the incident and say that they are happy with how the umpires handled the situation. On to the next match, where Tasmans defeated Waybacks on home soil. Waybacks had a much better showing this time round, but Tasmans were too strong, winning 85-28. Vice-captain Brent Harris having a day out, kicking 4 goals. Over at Poole Oval, it was a close one. Lincoln South held off Boston's, defeating them 80-67. Boston's were searching for their first win of the season, but their goal-kicking let them down on the day, kicking 9 goals and 13 points. Moving on to the Spencer Golf Football League, which once again saw some big winning margins. South Augusta cruised by Central Augusta in a 40-point win, securing their spot in the finals. And there was a blowout at Memorial Oval, seeing Risdon defeat West Augusta 170-34. In the final game was top of the ladder Solomon Town, who took care of Ports in a massive 68-point win. The league will conclude its minor rounds next week in round 17. Over in Broken Hill, West managed to get the narrow win over North, finishing on 8-6 to North's 5-8. The other match, not so close, seeing Central beat South 101 to just 23. A major upset, as Centrals haven't had a win over South since 2014. It's still anyone's race in Broken Hill, with finals just on the horizon. Finally, looking at the results for the Whyalla Football League now. And there was a huge game played on Friday night at Memorial Oval, where Waroona Bay took care of North Whyalla 118-21. Waroona were too accurate in front of goals, putting 18 between the posts. On to Saturday's matches, which saw Rapina defeat West Whyalla 88-32 at Bennett Oval. Another spectacular performance from Central Whyalla in the other game, where they beat South 153 to just 7. And that's a wrap for footy. We'll be back next week to bring you all of the finals action from across the region.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, it was rainy just about everywhere today, but particularly in Cummins.
Yes, that's right, Maddie. It started to fall around 9 a.m. and didn't stop until the gauge clocked over 12 millimetres. A decent downpour for a Monday. I hope no one left their washing out. Looking at some of the standout temperatures from today, 25 degrees in Port Augusta this afternoon, much cooler in Port Lincoln, reaching a top of just 13 after a rainy day. Windy up north in Cooper Pedy, 27 degrees. Looking more broadly at today's weather map, a bit of a range in today's temperatures, 18 in Woodner, but 24 in Whyalla. 22 degrees was the top temperature in Port Pirie, while Kadina reached a maximum of 15. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a cold front that moved over the west and south of South Australia earlier today will move over the northeast tonight. A high pressure system will move slowly across to the south of the continent during the week, to be centred over Bass Strait later on Friday, then over the Tasman Sea during the weekend. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters, southwesterly winds between 15 and 30 knots, seas up to 2 metres, and south to southwesterly swell between 1.5 and 2.5 metres. A shower or two in Port Lincoln on Tuesday, set to reach a top of 14 degrees there. Possible showers in Cleve 13. Partly cloudy in Woodner, down to 3 tonight, and set to reach a top of 15 degrees tomorrow. Wowler residents are in for a cold and wet night, possible hail as well. 4 tonight, warming up to 15 degrees tomorrow. Possible showers in Port Augusta, 15 degrees there, and a shower or two in Kadina between 4 and 14. The rain is set to ease around Port Pirie, 15 degrees. Clare will see a shower or two, temperatures between 2 and 10, and Broken Hill has a medium chance of showers in the early morning before a mostly sunny day, reaching 13 degrees there. Taking a look further through the week now, Wednesday will be wet in most places, including Port Pirie, Kadina, Woodner and Port Lincoln. Partly cloudy in Port Augusta and Whyalla. Cooper Pedy will be about 10 degrees cooler tomorrow than it was today, heading for 17 degrees. Moving on to Thursday's outlook now, 15 degrees in Port Lincoln, Kadina and Broken Hill, 16 in Whyalla, Port Pirie and in the capital. Cloudy in Port Augusta, 17 there. Taking a quick look at Friday's forecast now, Port Lincoln is the only city on our map with rain forecast around 1 millimetre. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. Maddie, it's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Monday. I'm Madeline Kerr. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.